Welcome to the Fit Life for Busy Parents podcast. My name is Coach Cam, and my mission here is simple. I want to empower you as a busy parent to go ahead and regain energy, confidence, and identity, regardless of how busy your schedule is, through a series of proven strategies. So, we are talking about a book that I just completed, finished. It's called Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. It's by T. Harv Eker. But really, the cool thing about this book is that although it's talking about finances, of course, it's labeling itself as the millionaire mind, right? It really could be anything that is success, right? So it doesn't have to be financially or monetary related, right? You could talk about being fit. You could talk about being the best parent, being the best husband, right? Every single area of life that you would want to make some type of growth in, that you feel like there's advancement in, that you want to be more successful in, this book, the wealth files that he has in here, would absolutely be applicable. So, with that being said, in this episode of our podcast, I wanted to talk about wealth file number 17, which again could be success file 17, it could be fit file 17, it could be best husband file 17, right? It doesn't really matter. But it says in this context, successful people can constantly learn and grow, where unsuccessful people think they already know, right? And so he's talking about the principle that when people are successful, right, they are in a space that they're constantly trying to learn. They're constantly going to people who are doing a little bit better than them, whether it's a little bit or a lot better than them. And they're trying to learn whatever they can from them, right? And so he talks about, in terms of a plant, right, that a plant is either growing or it's dying. There's no in between. There's never a plant just maintaining. It's either continuing to develop and grow and blossom, right? Sprouting, coming up, blooming, right? All those things are growth. Whereas on the other hand, once it's done all those things and it's grown to its full capacity, it's immediately dying, right? Even if it's, to the untrained eye, it's looking like, hey, like it's bloomed, it's beautiful, I'm observing it, right? It's still on the decline, right? It's dying. So from that standpoint, if we as human beings are not growing and learning and continuing to be in a space where we understand that we don't know everything, right? That we need to be able to learn more, then we're dying, right? We're being held back. We're not going out there and getting the life that we want. But I felt like it was so profound because he talks about a quote from Benjamin Franklin, wow, Benjamin Franklin, in which he says, if you think education is expensive, try ignorance. Because we hear this all the time from people, right? Myself included, where it's like, I don't really have the money for that. I would love to, but I don't think that I necessarily have the resources for that right now. I don't have the time. I don't have the energy. I don't have the money, right? Whatever it might be. And so when he's talking about, in terms of this, of his courses that he does, in terms of his books, the people that he finds who are always saying, oh, I don't, he says, I don't need this course. I don't have the time. I don't have the money, right? Are always the people who need it the most, right? They're the people who are in the space of the unsuccessful mindset where it's like, I already know, right? I know what you're going to tell me. I've heard it all before. It doesn't work for me, right? And the reality is, although you might have heard it, right? You might have heard all these same exact things that he's going to tell you in this course or in this book before. You do not know it, or otherwise you would apply it and you would make sure that you are successful in whatever it is that you want to do, right? It might not be money related. Maybe it's fitness. Maybe it's your relationship with your children. Maybe it's your relationship with your spouse. Maybe it's a career advancement, right? Maybe it's not even related to money. You're going to have the exact same pay, but it's a promotion that would get you more responsibility and more fulfillment, right? Maybe it's even taking a pay cut, but doing something that you're more passionate about, right? That can still be more successful, right? So, all in all, people who constantly come up with all these excuses are the ones who actually need what it is, right? So, me, in terms of running my own fitness company, right, and having calls all the times with different individuals who are looking to be able to get into the best shape of their life, right? The number one thing that I hear every single time, almost never go through a call and don't hear it, right? How much is this going to cost me? I don't know that I have the money for this. I'm in a really tight spot financially. I have a lot of expenses going on. I just had this come up, and so now I don't have as much money, right? And so what he says in here that I think is the best way that I could possibly even put it myself, right? And I try to help people to be able to overcome on those calls is he says, I'm sorry, but saying I don't have the money just doesn't cut it. When will you have the money? What's going to be different in a year or 2 or 5 years from now? Here's the answer. Nothing, and you'll be saying the exact same words again at that time, right? And so what does that mean, right? Because you could be like, well, that's all great that you say that, but I don't have the money, right? What this means is that you are going to make money for the things that you want in life, And the things that you aren't willing to make the money for are usually the things that you need, right? They're usually not, trips to Vegas, right? Trips to go with your family's places, going out and having a couple drinks at the bar, being able to go to the nightclub, being able to go and spend time with your friends, right? In all of those instances, we'll make the time, we'll spend the money, we'll do all these things, right? Because it's like, well, I don't want to let my friends down. I haven't been out of the house in a long time. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity, right? Things like that. But when it comes to our own personal development and growing and becoming the most successful version of ourselves, again, in any capacity, it doesn't matter what we're talking about here. That's when we don't have the money. We don't have the time. My schedule's really crazy right now. Maybe next year, right? I just have so many things going on with my kids. Maybe once they get into, school and they're all going full time, then I'll have the time for myself, right? The answer is it's a bunch of BS. You're never going to make that time unless the buck stops here and you actually make that time, right? And again, just like he talks about in here, it comes down to your mindset, right? Successful people are not going to live in a either or world. They're going to live in a both world, right? Poor people or unsuccessful people are the ones that look at it either or. I can either be happy or I can be rich. I can either be a good person or I can have a good income. I can either have a great family or I can work all the time, right? Whereas people who are successful are going to do both. If you guys don't know already, go and look up Grant Cardone on Instagram, the internet, right? Just wherever you want to be able to go, wherever your favorite place to be able to check people out is. Grant Cardone makes tons of money. Amazing investor, has all kinds of different ventures that he's involved in. He makes a ton of money. He does seminars. He's out here talking in front of people, right? He's clearly a very busy individual. But the one thing about Grant Cardone is if you go and look at his Instagram, his TikTok, whatever, right? He has his kids involved all the time. They're constantly with him. They're involved in his podcast. They're involved in what he's doing, right? Again, a rich mindset or a successful mindset is how can I have both? I want to be a great father, but I also want to make sure that my family has the best of everything. I want to be successful. I want to run my own multi-million dollar business, right? Both, right? I want to be in great shape, but I also want to make sure that I'm there for my kids. Title training, both. Mom life, dad life workouts, right? Where we actually help you to be able to use your kids for the workouts, right? Both. Being able to spend less time in the gym and get better results. Both. Being able to go ahead and hit your goals, but also have plenty of flexibility to make sure you can still go ahead and be able to lose the weight that you want and eat the foods that you want, right? Both. So when it comes down to I don't have the money, the reality is you're going to find that money for other things, right? It might not be all at once. I'll be honest. It might be three or four different things that you go ahead and spend it on, right? Let's say it was a 12 pack of beer here, a night out with your friends here, a trip with your family here, and then, a random expense for, I don't know, maybe you wanted to get something for the backyard and you go and spend money on that, right? And that all in totality could be whatever your fitness program is, right? Or whatever your business coaching prospect could be. It could be, the investment that you need to go back to school. It could be the time that you need to be able to go back to the gym, school, being there with your husband or wife more, right, etc. And we'll go ahead and find that same amount of time, those same amount of resources, and spread them out over different things. Don't really advance our lives, right? Getting something for the backyard, it's nice, but in a year or two, you're probably gonna throw it out and need something new, right? Let's be real. Going on a trip with your family, great. It's awesome. You got memories, you got photos, and I'm not taking away from that. But at the same time, in a year, 2 years, 5 years, you're going to want to go on a bigger trip, a more expensive trip, a more lavish trip, right? You're going to want to go on another trip. So it's not something that ends up, changing the course of your life forever. If you go ahead and get a 12 pack of beer, we don't even have to talk about it, right? Not a great investment. If you go out with your friends and you go out to the nightclub and you go and spend money on a bottle and a table, not a great investment, right? You have the money, you have the time, you have the energy, but the success blueprint in your mind has changed so that you don't go out there and prioritize these things. Let me give you a great example with my industry, which is fitness, right? Here's how it goes. You come on, you want to be able to lose weight, right? I show you everything that we do, customize it, show you all the success that we've had, why people are getting the results. It makes a ton of tangible sense to you. You're like, wow, this is different than anything that I've ever done in my entire life, right? Now we go ahead, we move forward, we ask if there's any concerns. You love everything, right? You're like, this is perfect. This is exactly what I need. This is essential for me to be able to do X, Y, and Z, all my goals, right? Then we go ahead and say how much the investment is. And you go, you know, I don't think I have the money for that, right? I would have to look over my finances. I would have to go ahead and do boom, 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 boom. None of it means anything, right? Looking over your finances, just being honest here, I did research on it. 77% of Americans don't even have a budget, meaning having a spreadsheet that they would go and look at. They have a bank account, they have statements, but what does that mean? Right? Because as soon as you go and you swipe your card one more time, that statement from the previous month makes no difference, right? You now have an added expense. Maybe it's not going to continue, but you swiped your card one more time, 76 extra dollars that just went onto your statement. And now the whole thing that you had last month and how you had like this money because of this, that, and the other is different because you went ahead and spent differently, right? So one, looking over a budget, probably not even a real thing, right? Two, you're spending as you go. You're probably racking up credit cards and stuff like that. You're not even making a conscious decision here, right? And then on top of that, it really comes down to fear, right? And that's what we're talking about here with this book. Is that the people that don't have the money, right? They say, "Oh, I don't have the money, I don't have the time, I don't have the energy," right? Just like how, T. Harv Eker is talking about in this book. They're the people that are fearful. They're scared. They look at these things as roadblocks rather than as opportunities, as challenges to show themselves that they actually have what it takes to be successful. Again, one of the other wealth files, which I could go through here and find what number it is, right? But it doesn't really matter, is that rich people or successful people, right, think in terms of opportunity. Poor people, right, or unsuccessful people think in terms of just not seeing them as roadblocks, right? Seeing them as squandered opportunities, seeing them as inconvenient, right? Um, Another one of the wealth files that just popped up right now while I'm looking through there is rich people are excellent receivers and poor people are poor receivers, right? Meaning that when they get opportunities in life, right? Maybe they've been praying to God, maybe they've been, hoping that the universe would give them the perfect opportunity. They get that opportunity and they continue to make excuses, right? They don't take advantage of it. They don't look at it as a, oh, this is an opportunity for me to actually go out there and get these things done, right? Successful people, right, manage their money well. They manage their opportunities well, right? They manage their success well. Poor people don't, right? Unsuccessful people don't. So again, all these things go to show that if you want to be successful, again, in my industry with fitness, being a better mother, being a better husband, being a better son, daughter, being a better employee, becoming more financially free, doesn't matter what the context of what it is, right? There's a couple things that we have to do. Again, not just my words, although I can see it in real life, but it's in here, right? It's in this book that we have to do to be able to make sure that we get that done. Number one is that we have to understand that no matter what growth that we are trying to go out there and achieve, it has to come from the inside, right? If you go out there and you lose 40, 50 pounds just because you change your diet and you change your exercise habits, if you did not learn deep down inside how to make that a lifestyle, you did not learn how to actually go out there and change your day-to-day life, and rather you're looking at it as like, okay, I got 75 days, right? Let's say 75 hard, 75 days. I'm going to work out twice a day. I'm going to be in a calorie deficit. I'm going to go ahead and read 10 pages. I'm going to do this, that, and the other. I'm going to get it done. Those 75 days come and go, even if you're 100% successful. By the end of the 76th day, you're going back to your old lifestyle because you never learned how to do this in a way that's sustainable for your life. So change has to come from the inside, right? The same thing. I could go ahead and go exempt on all my checks, start bringing in all this extra money, right? Start paying off all these credit cards. But if I'm still using the credit card, if I'm still going on expensive trips, if that money's coming in and go, hey, I'm rich, let's go. Let's go ahead and have this, that, and the other. Let's go to the club. Let's spend on the bottles, right? I'm not creating a system for success. I didn't change the inside. I just changed the exterior, right? You have to change from the inside. Okay. In addition to that, we also have to understand that if we are not growing, we are dying. Okay. That's true for plants, that's true for humans. So we have to keep growing, right? If you were in a space where you're just kind of like, I'm just okay with kind of going through it, right? Once my kids are older and they move out or they go off to college, that's when I'll go ahead and prioritize meat again. I'll go back to growing. You're dying that entire time, right? You have to continue to grow, whether that's through reading, whether that's through exercise, whether that's through learning how to be a better husband, father, wife, mother, right? It doesn't matter. But growing is essential to be able to continue to go forward, right? And again, if you think it's too expensive, right, for fitness, for learning, for a financial coach, right, or a financial planner, for learning how to go to parenting classes and learning, going to therapy, etc., right? Cost of not spending the money is much, much, much more expensive. I guarantee you. If you were significantly overweight and you're going, oh, well, it's too expensive for me to spend 150, 200, 500, 1,000, right? Depending on what coach and what bells and whistles you get on my health. What do you think is going to happen when you have a stroke or a heart attack? What do you think is going to happen when you're getting rushed off to the ER and all four of your children are around you crying because they think their mother or their father isn't going to make it? What do you think is going to happen when you're diabetic and you're going in every single month and having to refill your insulin? You're having to go and get high cholesterol meds. You're having to get your blood pressure meds. You're having to go in for added, I don't know, surgeries. You're having to go in for dialysis if you have kidney problems, etc. Right? What do you think is going to happen then? You think all those things are going to be cheap? You think all those things are going to be free? Not only are they all going to be drastically more expensive, they're also going to be band-aid approaches, meaning that they don't actually help you. They just make sure you don't die. High blood pressure medication is not going to make your blood pressure problem go away. It's just going to bring down your blood pressure so it's not killing you slowly. That's all it's going to do. If you have diabetes and you take insulin, insulin isn't making you non-diabetic, and in 6 months you're no longer going to have to take insulin. It's just masking it so your blood sugar comes down and you're not dying, right? You go in for a angioscopy, when you go and get like your heart worked on, right? It's not making you any healthier. It's just stopping the plaque that's in your heart and stopping your heart from slowly breaking down, right? None of these things are actual game plans for change. They're just band-aids. So if you think it's too expensive to go on a fitness journey, to go back to school, to go to therapy, to get a life coach, a financial planner, etc., it's much more expensive being in the other side of the boat where you're just kind of skating by. You're slowly dying, right? Change the inside, change the outside. You change the outside without the inside, that outside's going to go back to what it was because your reality, what we live, what we experience, is a reflection of our thoughts, of our mentality, our blueprint, and what we have in here, right? What we go out there and believe about ourselves, what we go out there and say about ourselves, the manner in which we carry ourselves, the habits that we have on a daily basis, actions that we exude, right? That's what's going to change. So I hear you. I don't have the money. I don't have the time. I don't have the energy. You're going to have less time. You're going to have less energy and you're going to have less money because of that mentality. Or you can change the mentality, right? Find the time, find the energy, find the money, and you can make the money, the energy, and the time all come back. At the end of the day, no one's going to force you. This is your life. We get one opportunity and you get to choose what you're going to do with it. But I'm here to tell you that you can make that change and you can turn one day into a lifestyle. So I hope to see you guys in there. Go out there and change your lives and no longer be in a space where you're making the excuses, but rather you are the expert going out there and showing how you can become a master from starting out as a disaster.